Underwood. Thin ice!
So I can't knock down a triple here. Woo, okay. Didn't even miss a shot this entire time, so take that. This better be good for the team.
Oh,
I thought for sure.
there it is. Boom! Yes!
All right, Illini Basketball Podcast episode 252. February, the R is in there after the B. Some people forget that when they pronounce it. 12th, 2025. Proper pronunciation is one way to be good at radio, although there are talented radio personalities over the years who, haven't had a great grasp on the English language. Christopher Russo being one of those. He's great, though. I'm not going to blame him. But I guess we'll talk about what people want to hear. I don't know. I'd rather talk about radio for a couple hours. But Illinois getting the job done last night, improving their Peacock record to 3. Did we establish they're 2-0 going in? I guess 3-0.
Sure.
3-0, I guess, would be the proper way to say that, but we don't have
to. Yeah. I'm just trying to update the banner because I'm an idiot, so don't mind me.
People don't need to see the banner anyway. It was 83-78 was the final score. Illinois gave up 53 points in the second half after what I would call a very good defensive first half. And really, the inability to stop Bilodeau from making threes is what kept UCLA in the game in the first place. Like if people watched the first half without like the score, I think Illinois won the first half by 15 points with the way they played, but they were only up 6 going into the half. And then the second half is a completely different story when you look at the last 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I think UCLA made 10 in a row or something, 10 out of 11, something crazy to end the game. UCLA played a good game. I mean, if you look at the numbers,
their offense in the first half was getting, destroyed.
But put up 53 in the second half, which I'm sure Brad wasn't very happy about, but it is what it is. But, they forced turnovers, what they needed to do. They shot 52% from 3, 48% from the field. And to see those numbers and know that Illinois still won the game, I think that's a big takeaway. Like you said, Bilodeau, how many did he have in the first half? Do you know how many threes?
No.
Okay. Yeah, he ended up 7 for 12. He made 2 back-to-back. People were questioning Brad because of his defense. I think Brad had the defensive plan against him. I think that the team kind of broke down on him. So I don't know. I even said, why leave him wide open? But it seemed like they were kind of playing off of him a little bit in the first half. And then the second half, the pick and pop just tore Illinois apart. Brad said, quote, "We call it a tilt. The building is so loud, so it is communication based, and I think everything was a dribble late. We were trying to switch him. If he shot 2s against our guards, we were fine with that, but we were late with it. Guys kept saying, I don't hear the call. It's a flat middle ball screen. It is really hard to handle. We have practiced it, but that was in a quiet building." So he blamed it on the noise of State Farm Center and guys missing assignments. So
yeah. He went 3 for 6 in the first half.
Okay.
4 for 6 in the second half.
Yeah.
But also the big difference is they went 3 for 8 as a team in the first half, and then in the second half they went 9 for 15 from 3.
Yeah.
Including Kobe Johnson goes 2 for 2. Sky Clark made a big one, and then Andrews and Daly both made one.
Yeah. Which I don't know. Is Daly a good 3-point shooter?
Good question. Shoots 37%.
Okay. So about like our elite shooters. So I would say he's good.
No, he sucks.
Okay. But yeah, there were some weird turnovers. Tommy looked a little unpolished at the beginning. He ended up with 4 turnovers. Brad said that he was only upset with like 4 of them out of the 14. He said Tommy's were basically because he hasn't been practicing. I guess he hasn't practiced all week or since the last game. Tommy isn't even practicing. So for him to be this good on game days without any practice is really nice to see, especially when you can tell that Brad doesn't trust Trey White with not practicing and going into games right now. So Brad said, quote, "We're going to live with some of KJ's, the late one where Ben didn't finish his cut. It was the right read, maybe not the right time to make that play. We need KJ to make plays. Guys got to know when KJ has the ball, he's going to dime them up." So, Hummer, keep cutting, brother.
Yeah, it's great. Can we go back to the beginning? We didn't talk about the first thing we were supposed to talk about.
I'm sorry.
I ruined it.
Brother?
I ruined it.
All right.
You cut out completely there, by the way. I'm sure it was a good point. Go ahead.
Good. I said you're an idiot.
Oh.
Yeah. Illini fans are soft, as we all know. There was a lot of complaining on Twitter last night because the Orange Crush were chanting at Sky Clark. I don't understand it. Like, it's not like they were saying, just say no or you're a R word like they were to Terrence Shannon. They literally just said he sucked. Like,
the word you're looking for is rapist. I think okay. I find it interesting that, like, yeah, it wasn't anything malicious, and if anything's gonna wake up the Orange Crush, I mean, they definitely brought it for the first 5 minutes of the game. Then they all fucking fell asleep as they typically do.
Yeah, but I'm not thinking it was more than
wrong.
5 minutes.
Wrong. Okay, 8 minutes. Sorry, 8 minutes. They really brought it for 8 minutes. Okay. I gave him 10 minutes when I wrote it on the sheet here. So I said, I gave him 10 minutes. That's fine. That's great. Yeah, I don't understand why our fan base has to, like, become soft over situations like this. It wasn't anything crazy. And let's not forget, number one, not that Sky Clark had to give a reason why he left in the middle of the season, but it didn't help that he did not do so. That's number one. Number two, that team also wasn't very good. They could have used him. And number three, he committed to Louisville like 30 minutes after they lost to Arkansas.
I don't think it was 30. It might have been 3.
Yeah, well, I gave him a little leeway, but I don't. The worst thing they chanted was what?
Sky you suck,
or Sky you suck.
You're a traitor. Like that. I think those were the two that they chanted. I don't say, like, I wish that they would have a chant for everybody on every team, but for them to be able to have something to go at him with, it is what it is. It's a college basketball game. They're college kids having a good time. Let's not act like little pussies when we chant against somebody.
You wouldn't use the word rapist, but use that word. Okay. I think the big tweet that kind of went off a little bit with this was from Armchair. They didn't think it was appropriate. That's fine. I mean, whatever. If there were a situation where we were still partnered with them and we weren't allowed to say anything, which that would never happen, I don't think. But I don't care what any of the big Illini accounts say. I think that I didn't even really comment on it. I don't think, unless all I said was that it got the Orange Crush to, show some energy for once, but obviously that didn't last long. I mean, I was rewatching some of the game earlier and I just see there's 8 people in the Orange Crush section when Illinois' lead is down to 5. There's 8 to 10 people that are actually trying to jump around and make some noise. And there's just a bunch of people standing there.
Yeah. And it, when other teams go on runs, it seems like that's when the Orange Crush kind of melts into their seats and, doesn't get going. When Illinois had that early lead at the beginning, I guess that's why you're talking about they were good for 5 minutes. Seemed like the whole place was kind of up for that. So, it gave them something to be excited about. I think they'll bring that over in the Michigan State game. I don't understand. Like, I know that the kid came to the program, but he also left it midseason and, again, committed right after Illinois lost. Sounds like Brad still gets along with him, said to tell his mom and dad hi after the game. So I don't get why we're so offended by the fact that people are cheering against somebody. Like that's the whole point of college basketball. It's to have fun and, to get your team up and to try to get in the other team's head.
Which is exactly why we shouldn't care what Dan Hurley did last night. Anyway, I don't give a single fuck what Brad said about Sky Clark. That has nothing to do with anything the fan base should be doing. Not one time did Brad tell anybody to stand down either. So,
no, absolutely not.
If we're going to fucking treat all these athletes that are making shitloads of money now like children, I get that they're young. I don't give a fuck. Like, it's insane that we're just going to sit here and pamper these fucking guys. That was nothing. That was like a 2 out of 10 in terms of like how far they could have gone in chanting. That was nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't think Sky had a problem with it either.
I don't think he did it. Yeah. I don't.
Like Illini accounts, quit being so fucking soft.
And Sky, I mean, he got a little jab back. He probably hit the biggest 3 of the game. Later on, put UCLA down 2, I believe. So, it's just fun and games, guys. Like I was 5 years old when Michigan came to town, and I was 5 chanting "Just say no" to Jalen Rose. Like just because he wasn't in the program, we just don't say anything to anybody now. Soft. That's what we are. We're soft. Anyways, back to the game. Jay says the shot selection in the last 4 minutes was not great. Drive and get to the line. Yeah, Illinois was up 16 with 4:50 left. UCLA went on their run. Illinois looked absolutely lost on the offensive side of the ball. Tommy had to take like a 50-footer. Somebody else forced one up. Luckily, KJ hits that fadeaway side fade jumper. Brad thought it was a 3 still, but it was clearly a 2. And that was kind of the only offense they got. They did make their free throws down the stretch, except for Mr. Hummer. I'm just glad he made the front end. But huge rebound by Tommy to knock that back out. Illinois was really good from the line, 18 for 20 from the line. So are you okay with how Illinois finished this game? I mean, I saw people saying that Illinois wouldn't have closed this game out, a month ago or whatever it is. Like with 8 minutes left, I was still worried about this game. With 5 minutes left, I was still worried about this game. And then it just kind of all fell apart like it always seems to do with Illinois. So
I was more so thinking back to real quick before I address that. Not one time did we complain during the season about anything that was chanted at Terrence Shannon. Anybody can try to find the clip. Go ahead. Anyway, I don't think we can sit here and be okay with the way they finished the game, but they won the game. I think you got to give UCLA some credit. I mean, they were making everything.
Everything, yeah.
They just happened to get hot at that time, and before that, they really weren't. Illinois' defense was really good in the first half. I think that this team will figure. I think you need to, like, the Northwestern game is a little bit different than this, but they ended up closing out both games where they had big leads. This team wins games when they have big leads. They don't really blow gigantic leads.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that. They didn't have a big lead against Rutgers or Nebraska or Maryland or Michigan State or USC. Or the other 2 losses on the year. The Northwestern one is the big one that you could argue that, yeah, they had a big lead and blew it, but it was December 6th. It was early in the year. Tennessee, they never had a big lead, unless I'm misremembering. Let's see. It was 54-50 or something. Yeah, like this is no. Wait, 52-45. Yeah, but
it's not a 15-point lead. It wasn't Illinois up 10?
76-61, so wasn't it?
60. Yeah, they're up 16 with 5 minutes left. So,
but they won the game.
Yeah, this team seems to have answers even when teams do go on runs.
They also executed when they needed to at the very end.
Yeah, and they executed even before that. Like Bilodeau hit a 3. Tommy comes back down, hits a 3. It's like they had an answer for almost everything until UCLA just went in fuego and couldn't miss. So, yeah, I'm okay with this team, with it getting back close. Brad was asked if, after a win like this, is there still learning lessons? Because in a loss, there's learning lessons. And he basically just said that, he doesn't even worry when they win. It doesn't matter what the margin is. He said that they need to clean up some, in late game situations, but, UCLA is a good team with a crybaby coach. I mean, good coach and really good players. So Brad's going to take this win, move on. Again, like you said, that when this team gets a lead, when it builds a lead, it really hasn't relinquished it that often. And now that they're healthy and whole and everything else, I think it's good. It's a win against a really good team that's won 7 in a row. So
I know people want to try to get me to say something bad about Mick Cronin, but I won't. I think that we're at a point in college basketball now where somehow fans rally around hating coaches more than players, which I find fascinating. Like the one player in the
because
Big
it's
Ten,
don't pick on the kids.
Exactly. The one player in the Big Ten that people really don't like is Vlad Golden.
Yeah.
And even if you don't like Braden Smith, you can't deny what Braden Smith has done at Purdue. And I know you're obsessed with the guy, so I don't have to tell you that.
I only hate Braden Smith because he plays for Purdue. So
the thing that is interesting for me with Cronin is he doesn't seem like a guy that would fit in at all at UCLA, but they've been phenomenal under him.
Yeah.
And I respect that because that's a Big East guy, the way that he is. That's not Hollywood. That's not, West Coast at all. And I'm pretty amazed that it's worked out as well as it has. But, is he a little performative on the sideline? Sure. Who isn't? A lot of the best coaches are. And I would say he's certainly a top 5 coach in the conference. I would probably only lock in like Painter and Izzo over him. Like I think him and Underwood are kind of on the same wavelength in some ways. I mean, he's 2 Sweet 16s and in a Final Four at UCLA. So he's probably ahead of Underwood in that regard. But yeah, I understand that people don't like the antics. And, if Dan Hurley can't get away with anything, then nobody can. So
yeah,
that's the way it is.
I don't know. Apparently when their bench got teed up, he pointed to Illinois' bench and said, tee up that guy. So I don't know what that was, but
also like, who cares though? Like it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. I'm just stating a point. Is that okay? Can I
say
a damn point around here?
The point didn't move.
Jesus.
The point didn't do anything.
Okay.
I don't understand. Like,
bro, you like your short little bald coaches. I get it. Congratulations.
No. First of all, Dan Hurley's not that short.
He's very bald though.
2-time national champion, dude. Did you hear that? He told everybody.
Yeah. You got any rings? You little children?
That's the thing. That's the thing is, yeah, see, students you can't go after students. Like, okay, first of all, Creighton has a good program, no doubt. I like Greg McDermott a lot. He's a hell of a coach. But like, if the student section of Creighton is going to taunt Hurley's the type of guy that's going to go back after him. What the hell's wrong with that? I don't understand what's wrong with that.
Yeah,
everybody's crying.
Like it doesn't surprise me that you don't see something wrong.
How am I wrong?
I'm friends with you. I talk to you every day on this shit. Like it doesn't surprise me that a guy like you has no problem with it.
That is true. That's true. But I don't understand like what the big issue is.
I don't know. I think it's just something to talk about. It's Twitter, bro.
Yeah, but I don't understand why everybody's got to be so like weird about this. Like he went after them last year. He wasn't going to go after them again this year, especially since UConn doesn't win there. I don't think UConn's ever won there.
I think that's their first win. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised to see that. And I don't have a problem with it because this is where I understand the point of people like you, if you know what I mean. It does do really well on social media. And that's what we need in this sport because there's a lot of shit where it's like, Izzo's not doing anything other than doing normal Izzo stuff to, create engagement like that in the internet. And I think maybe Hurley's aware of that. I think he's become more aware of that, especially since they've had such an easy job winning the last 2 years. Like it's
100%.
Been a pretty effortless, back-to-back tournaments for them, especially last year was essentially stress-free. But yeah, I think
there's no doubt in my mind that Hurley absolutely eats it up and loves it. Yeah. No doubt in my mind. So
Yeah, and if I mean, let's be honest, if UConn had McNeely, they would probably be right behind St. John's in the Big Ten right now. So, or Big East. What conference is that? The Big East, Big Ten, same thing. Big Ten's tougher though, like more physical, definitely. I put out a poll that really upset St. John's people last night. At least that one guy. I don't know if he's a St. John's guy, but the guy who was in that Spaces who was saying don't compare St. John's and Michigan State. Like nobody on the planet has been more of a St. John's guy than me this year. So I don't really understand. Like how many people had St. John's in their preseason Final Four? I'd love to know that. Nobody.
Well, it's because you talk out both sides of your mouth. So
no, when did I do that? I didn't never done that with St. John's.
I'm just saying.
Playing politics too, if that's what I'm doing. That's smart. That's how you do it. And you got to create an engagement. That's what Dan Hurley does, and that's what I guess a lot of you people don't understand.
I will be those people. All right, back to the line.
What would you do if Brad Underwood did that?
Did what? I wish that he could do it. How about that? How about that for an answer? I wish that he could do that.
So you don't have a problem with Hurley doing it then?
I don't. I just like giving you shit about it.
Okay. Well, it seems like you lost the argument. That's fine.
See, I like talking out of both sides of my mouth too.
That's what the business is.
That's right. Eric asked if we had a watch party last night. No, we did not. I woke up puking. So no watch party last night. Feel better now. And also shout out to this Soda P new subscriber. Appreciate you. Everybody that comes through, we always appreciate you. So back to the line. I went with 5 guys most of the game. Hummer played 35. KJ played 37. Tommy played 32. Riley played 31. Boswell played 29. Merez 20 minutes. Davis 9 minutes. Really good minutes by Davis though. And DGL only played 7. When UCLA kind of went on that run, Brad always talks about their best defenses with Merez out there. Are you surprised that they didn't throw Merez out there a little bit more?
No, I think you got to go with what's working. I got something here for the Michigan State preview that the most frequent lineup over the past 5 games, it's been used 15.8% of the time, is essentially the starting lineup from earlier in the year with Riley instead of Trey White. Yeah. So they've been rolling KJ, Boswell, Riley, Humrickhouse, and Ivisic. I think it's Ivisic. I think that's where we're at. By the way, there's a quick comment here. The broadcasting duo last night, I mean, Baruto with a capital B, just horrendous. I mean, nothing good about that. Bardo was actually the better of the two. Like, I saw somebody, I don't know, one of the other Illini accounts tweeting like, oh, Jack Collins was surprisingly not bad. Like, no, he was terrible. Number one, he said Yakachunas and Yakachonis. He was just mixing it up back and forth. Number two, some of his terminology, when he's trying to be unique, trying to be maybe like a Kevin Harlan or a Marv Albert type, did not land at all. Like one of the shots, I think it was maybe like a UCLA 3, it like went off the back of the rim and then in, and he said it went down the middle. That doesn't make sense. So I thought they were awful. I give them a D-, and it's not even Bardo's fault. Okay. I thought that was terrible, and I think that's kind of a product of, hey, you got 8 Peacock games tonight.
Well, there were 5 Big Ten games.
Yeah, that's weird.
Big Ten played until 1:00 in the morning, I think.
Yeah, and you get stuck with the D team, which nothing against Bardo in this one either. I wish Deion Thomas were the one doing it if I had to pick a former Illini, but that's fine. There's nothing I can do about that.
It's doing radio, right?
Yeah, we should do TV. I mean, we all wanted Hummel, obviously. If anybody disagrees with that, you're an idiot.
I think Purdue fans are tired of Hummel, which is actually crazy. So.
Did he do that game last night?
Mm-hmm.
Who did color for the Indiana-Michigan State game? I didn't even listen to that. I don't even know who all they had.
I don't remember.
Well,
anyways, Brad said of why he had that lineup out was basically just because of shooting. He said that with UCLA and how much threes they allow, that's why he had Merez on the bench and the other guys in. So Austin Rivers did IU MSU. Thank you.
Is that true?
Bootzilla. Bootzilla wouldn't lie to us. Did Riley start last night? Did Riley start last night? No. We went with Hummer, Merez, Ivisic, Yakachonis, and Boswell. Ivisic. I don't know.
By the way, in the first half, Ivasic, Yakachonis, or Yakachunas, if you're, Jack Collinsworth from time to time last night. It was one or the other, no doubt. Those three, Humrickhouse, the third one, they had a combined 14 points in the first half. Second half is when they really took it up a notch, 33 from those guys. And then if you include Boswell had 0 points in the first half, 11 in the second half. And you need those types of guys to
coming
play.
From the line too.
Yeah, he had 8 free throw makes, and the only shot that he made was a 3, which is good. But you need those types of guys to step up in the second half. And in a game where we all knew, I think, from a defensive matchup standpoint, this was not going to be an easy assignment offensively for Will Riley. And I thought he held his own more than we've seen him do in the past against teams that guard the way that UCLA guards in a very old school, unique way, which is not something that Illinois is going to see very often at all this year. So the fact that they could put up 80 plus against them while only having 31 in the first half, I think is huge. I think obviously a big part of that is, 7 threes between the Europeans. They force turnovers. Illinois having 14 turnovers is not that bad.
No, I mean, they got to be averaging 12 a game against normal competition.
There were a couple where you're driving off the perimeter towards the lane, and there's got to be maybe a foul call here or there too that they could have.
Yeah, I think even Bardo or somebody pointed out how KJ was. He seems to get slapped across the arm more than anybody else, and
a lot of scratches on his arms before the game even started.
Yeah. But yeah, everybody thought Brad adjusted, whatever. Illinois took 28 threes. They're still going to be shooting threes, guys. I mean, UCLA is one of those teams where they kind of clog up driving lanes. And like Brad said, they give up 3-pointers. So this team's going to keep shooting. It is what it is.
Nobody has a problem with them shooting threes, though, if they go 56% against Minnesota, 39% last night. And the other big thing is that they took 28 threes. They made 11 of them, but they also were pretty good from 2. 16 of 25, 64%. On the year, they're 57%, so that's 7% above that. Plus, they shot 8% above their normal percentage from 3 this year. And then from the free throw line, they shot 90%. And your 2 misses are 1 from Humrickhouse and 1 from KJ. So you can live with that. But the offense seems to have found something. And a lot of offensive mistakes are cured by just making shots. And that's what they've been doing in the last 2 games. And I don't know where you're at on it, but I know that after the Minnesota game, we're like, let's see them do it against a real team. This is a pretty real team, red hot UCLA team.
They shot 28 threes, and Brad said that he wished they would have taken 4 or 5 more. So
yeah, but my point is that you were kind of saying, let's see them have a high-level offense against a real team.
No, I was saying, let's see if they stop shooting threes against.
It didn't come across that way, though. You didn't say that.
Sorry if that didn't come across.
But the point is that essentially, I know that UCLA right now is just outside of the top 10 in efficiency on the defensive end. That's a top 10 defense, and that is maybe the best defense in the country at forcing turnovers. And Illinois had 14 turnovers, which you can live with. They killed them on the glass. It was 36-23 on the glass. Yeah. They scored 83 points. They made 11 threes, all high-level stuff. And it's hopefully something they can carry into the next game, which we'll talk about later. But Michigan State is in an interesting spot right now. But Illinois got just a huge stretch coming up from the 15th to the 22nd with 3 games. And to win this game was big. You obviously want to defend home court. You're playing a hot UCLA team, a team that is pretty old too. Like they start 3 juniors, a senior, and Daly's a sophomore, but he's a sophomore who's played a lot of minutes. He played, 20 to 30 minutes a night at Oklahoma State last year. He's doing the same this year at UCLA. And I find it interesting. There's also a lot of talent on that bench that you didn't see much of last night. Like Ade Mara and Trent Perry are both talented players, but they didn't see a ton of minutes last night.
Yeah. I just think that Illinois, had answers for those guys too. So Tommy was really good underneath the hoop and such. Did they mention a thing about Kofi's jersey going up in the banners?
Well, unfortunately, I had to lower the volume on the broadcast. Okay. But they did show Ty Rodgers with that shirt on, so that was they had that going.
They did. Brad had a big old gushing moment over Kofi and, being able to turn him into an All-American and all that stuff. And that's why you do it. And then he was asked about free throw shooting, and he said, quote, "We didn't have Kofi at the line, so we made him." So.
Wow. That's mean.
Yeah. Let's get to players of the game. I went with Tomislav Ivicic. How are we saying it?
Ivicic.
However I want to say it. All right. 8 for 14, 4 for 6 from 3. I think he's made 6 of his last 8. 2 for 2 from the line, 16.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. He did have 4 turnovers, like we talked about. Had the biggest play of the game, I think, was the rebound that he got over the top. Mick Cronin cried like a little baby about it. But I thought he did really good with Billadu in the paint. He didn't close out on some of those, but Will Riley didn't close out. Hummer didn't close out. So it was kind of like everybody that tried to guard Billadu didn't do a good job behind the three-point line, but I thought Tommy was really good inside against him. I thought that he had a block against him, but on the stat sheet, it didn't have one. So, and like I said, Brad said that he's not practicing. So, for him to come in not practicing and be able to do this stuff, it's really good. And I guess you put this down. He leads the team from 3, 37% from 3. Hummer's at 35.5%, KJ at 35%, and Davis at 34%.
Yeah, it's not great, but I mean, props to Ivicic. 37% we'll take.
How many points did Hummer have?
9.
Hummer had 9 points.
5 of them were like in the last 5 minutes.
Late,
Think, right?
Hit a big 3 and then knocked down some free throws late. So,
well, knocked down, as many as he could.
Yeah, he did miss the last one, but thank God for Tommy.
Yeah, I was trying to go with Ivicic, but obviously you wanted him, so it's fine. I went with Yakachunas or Yakachonas, whatever we want to call him, I guess. 8 of 14 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, 5 for 6 from the free throw line, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, or one block. Another game where you saw a lot of the NBA type
things he does,
on display.
Yep.
And another game where he looked good. He made some shots, did some good things. Obviously, that 2-man thing up top with Ivicic is like the most lethal thing that this team possesses. He had that great hesitation move that got Sky Clark fooled, and he went straight to the basket for a score. Mm-hmm. And he made a huge shot where he looked off balance, and it was a 2. He did that. A lot of good things in this game. I mean, 8 rebounds, 3 on the offensive end. He was tied for the team lead in offensive rebounds in this game with 3, him and Merez both.
He really attacked the boards well this game. I mean, he had 8, but he had his hands on at least 15 of them, I would guess.
Like 5 turnovers, I get that it's not a very, good-looking number, but that is exactly like 4 to 6 is what I would have expected going into this game. I don't think there was any scenario where he's going to have fewer than 4 turnovers against a team like UCLA. Especially he was handling a lot too.
Yeah, and I mean KJ, he's probably his biggest critic. He said that he wasn't happy with his performance in this game. Had 24 points.
Yeah, he stuck.
Said that he had 5 turnovers and he needs to get stronger with the ball and match physicality of other teams. So he knows he's learning and he's trying to, make less mistakes like that. So he also shouted out the Orange Crush and said that we have the best fans in the country. So,
well, he's Lithuanian. He wouldn't know. So I won't hold it against him.
Hummer, I didn't have a great game. Defensively, he was okay. Brad said that he's the glue. Him and Kylan are the glue. And Ben has turned into a really good Big Ten player. Newness is hard. They have done yeoman's work in terms of Jake. They have been great at talking about Ben and Kylan. Again, they both played big down the stretch, I believe myself. But Tommy was asked, what Ben brings at the 3 position. And he said, quote, "It opens up a lot of space for everyone because Ben is an amazing shooter and everyone knows that. Spacing is the key when Ben's at the 3. Yeah, I was not. I mean, like Ben did what Ben does. He, plays defense and he knocks down 3s when he needs to. So, not that he's done that all year, but this was a solid game for him. I saw somebody say that because Brad said they were like glue, and somebody said Ben must be some weak ass glue. Ouch.
Whoa.
Crypto says scary moment when KJ looked like he pulled a hammy. Yeah, that was. Luckily, he came right back in. And then Brad complimented Ben's rebounding, which is probably not a good game to do that because he only had 3.
Yeah.
We talked about Boswell. Merez was 4 for 5, 8 points, 6 rebounds, 1 steal. He only played 20 minutes this game, but he put up really good minutes. He had another terrible foul call on him. Surprise, surprise. Off the bench, Will Riley, 5 for 11, 0 for 2 from 3, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. Will, he finds his spots to score. It doesn't look like he's forcing things anymore. I think one of those threes might have looked a little forced, but that roll with that, it's not even a screen and roll. I think it's Tommy comes off the screen, Will rolls, and then Tommy just has such nice touch to find a 6'10" Will Riley to be able to put it in. Has worked out really well lately.
6'8".
6'8". Sorry.
Thank you.
Jake Davis was 2 for 3, 1 for 2 from 3. I don't even know if he had the ball in his hands on the 3 that he missed when he shot it. 5 points, 1 assist. Nice little breakaway layup by Jake Davis
on an alley-oop.
Yeah, that was real nice. So
he caught the ball and then his feet hit the ground. And he made a layup. Perfect.
DGL. I don't know if this phone's going.
DGL, 7 minutes played. 0 for 2 from the field, 1 offensive rebound, 1 defensive rebound. So 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 foul. Still coming off of illness. He's played a total of 11 minutes the last 2 games, which I don't think is an indictment on him by any means. It's just that he's been sick, and obviously the better play of Yakachonis and Boswell is contributing to some of this as well. I thought Boswell brought it. Brad said the busy schedule has made it hard to get the sick guys back. We already said this. He included Trey in that. Sounds like they will be ready to go full strength on Saturday. Brad told Trey after the game we were going to need you, which is kind of just like something that Brad says. Yeah. Brad also said that I thought the first half defensively we were terrific, took them out of their stuff, very good on their guards. The second half became a shootout both ways, and we let Bilodeau get going. Terrific shooter and pick and pop threat, but it seemed like every time he hit one, we would come back with one. He also said, quote, I don't worry about wins. The margin doesn't concern me as much as how we play. Not sure it's entirely true given his love of the metrics. I think that we're a process-driven group and how we play in the process and how we learn. We obviously have to clean up late-game situation switch. It's challenging against a good team, against a good coach with really good players, and they have them. Brad is hoping the committee takes into account the 5 games they didn't have all their guys and the fact that they have scheduled so hard and that you're going to get dinged up with the kind of schedule they have, which I do think the committee has enough respect for Illinois at this point to where maybe they will do that. Maybe Illinois will be a 5 seed if they play well. Maybe they can get down to 4 if they keep getting wins. But Illinois' non-conference schedule is 209th in strength, but you look at the high-end opponents that they're playing, they've played some of the best teams in the country. Alabama and Tennessee are 2 of them, and Duke, who they play in a week, is another one of them. So they've definitely scheduled hard, and their Big Ten schedule has been tough as well. So they have the 13th overall strength of schedule, which is a win. They have good metrics. They're 15th right now in KenPom. They're a top 15 team for a team that's struggled a bit of late. They got all the way up to 8 at one point. They're 9-6 in the conference now. Still behind the pack. I mean, Michigan leading the way. We'll talk about that later. But I think Illinois has got a strong enough resume when it comes to metrics and when it comes to, the fact they've made the tournament several years in a row now. I think there's something to that with the way that the committee might look at you. But I don't think Brad has to worry about the committee not taking these things into account because I think they will. But I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference if you just win games. So just win, Brad.
Just win, Brad.
Last year's team lost 9 games. This team's about to lose number 9 next time they lose. If they lose again, who knows?
Yeah.
If Illinois wins a national championship and doesn't lose another game the rest of the year, that would be 15 straight wins. So see if they can do it, or 17 straight if you count the 2 they've already won. So they can win their next 17 or their next 15. You're in a good spot. All right, we got to do the preview. I already did all the other stuff, so we're good.
Thank you.
Illinois, Michigan State, Saturday, 7:00 on Fox. Michigan State's 10-3 in conference play. Illinois is 9-6. Obviously, you had Yakachonis play 9 minutes in the last game, foul trouble, and then Ivasic. This was the last game he played before the mono thing came into.
Pretty sure that he played with mono.
Public picture. It was his worst 3-point shooting game, tied with the Eastern Illinois game, the first game of the year, going 1 for 6. But he's made 6 of his last 8 in the last 2. So we'll see if that rolls into this game. Michigan State's dropped 3 of 4 after they started 9-0 in conference play. Important to note that the only quality opponent they played in those 9 games was probably Illinois, right? I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio State's fine. They're not as good as Illinois. They're fine.
Washington, Northwestern, Penn State, Rutgers, Minnesota. So
Nebraska,
Nebraska,
from a metric standpoint, is not bad, but from when I watch them play, I just think that's a hard-nosed team that plays hard, but they're not that good. But anyway.
Yeah, they made that trip like everybody else has had to and lost both. So
yeah. Michigan State lost last night to Indiana in East Lansing.
Oof.
Would have been a perfect spot for Izzo to break the Bob Knight record, right? Or did he already break it, or did he tied it?
He's tied it, so that would have been to break it.
It would have been perfect to do it against Indiana, and now he's going to try to do it against Illinois.
I think it's perfect that he lost to Indiana not to break it. But
well, for him, it would have been perfect to.
Oh yeah, sure.
If they don't do it against Illinois, they have Purdue next. So Purdue and Michigan next too. I mean, I understand that Illinois has lost games to some teams that are ahead of them, but Michigan State's next 3 games, I think, are against the most dangerous teams in the conference. Illinois, Purdue, Michigan.
Yeah, and then they go Maryland, Wisconsin.
Exactly. The 2 others that I would include.
Yeah,
UCLA would be the only other one I would have there.
Their only easy game. It's kind of like Illinois. I think Illinois' only quote unquote easy game is Iowa because they played Michigan twice in that.
At Iowa in early March, I don't think it will be that easy for Michigan State.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I know that Freeman's out, but they still have Sanford and they still have guys who can make 5 threes and you end up giving up 95 points to them somehow. But anyway, yeah, they're at Illinois, home against Purdue, at Michigan, at Maryland, home against Wisconsin. So this could go one way or the other for Michigan State. They could win these games and have a legitimate case for a 2 seed in the tournament, or they could spiral a little bit. I guess your worst case scenario, if you're Michigan State, is that you lose every single remaining game except for Iowa, which I don't think happens. I think they'll handle Wisconsin. I think they can beat Purdue. I don't know if it'll happen, but they certainly can. They can obviously beat Illinois again. Wouldn't rule that out. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough stretch. I mean, you look at what they did last night. They lost 71-67. Luke Goody was the MVP of this game, by the way, which is amazing. He had 10 points.
He was everywhere. It looked
4 steals. Yeah. Ballo fouled out.
Had a huge steal down the stretch.
Big bench minutes from Indiana, too. 36 from Miles Rice off the bench, and Renault came off the bench, had 29 minutes, 19 points, 12 rebounds. Indiana made 3 threes, which is a big accomplishment for them. They shot 23%, but they made 3 of them.
Yeah.
And the big thing for Michigan State is that they played for Indiana is that they played a team that also didn't make threes, which is Michigan State. They shot 17%.
Yeah, I think Indiana ran zone the whole second half.
Outscored them by like 30
and
in that stretch.
And Indiana just pounded the ball inside. Renew and Ballo were pretty good in this game. I don't know what they scored, but every time I looked up, it looked like they were scoring. So
Ballo had 14, 10, and 26 minutes, and Renault had 19 and 12 in 29 minutes.
And that was the other is they weren't on the court together most of the game, which has been Woodson's kind of big thing, is playing them both at the same time.
They started Leal, Galloway, Mbako, Goody, and Balo. So, yeah, interesting that Indiana finally gets that signature win, but they're so far out of it that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
They were 4-1 in the Big Ten, and then they're 2-7 since. But their 2 wins are at Ohio State and at Michigan State.
Indiana could go like 4-2 to close the season out. And
yeah, I mean, I think Ohio State catches them at the end of the year and beats them. I think they might lose. They could lose both of those West Coast games. Like, I think they should beat Washington, but I don't think they'll beat Oregon. They're not beating Purdue. I don't care what their effort was the first time. Purdue's not losing to them. And I don't think they'll beat UCLA either. So let's remember, Indiana smoked USC at home, though. So you never know. I mean, UCLA is a lot better than USC, but best case for Indiana is 4-2. 4-2 gets you 10-10 in the Big Ten, but their metrics are so bad, and there's such a narrative with this team. And if they go 4-2, but you lose to Purdue and UCLA, you don't really have very many quality wins. I mean, your quality wins are Michigan State, Ohio State on the road, I guess, is quality in metric land. I'm assuming that's a quad 1 win. At Oregon, I guess, would be a good win, but it wouldn't be as good as it was 2 months ago.
Right.
So it's
they got a ton of work to do if
they have strength of schedule on their side. 17th in the country strength schedule. So we'll see. But yeah, Michigan State last night, I kind of went off a thing. I forgot we were talking about Michigan State. 3 guys in double figures. Fiddler had 12 points. 6 of those came at the free throw line. Akins had 14. Richardson had 13, but those 2 went 3 for 15 from 3 combined. And also on the glass, they did win that battle. They had 12 offensive rebounds, 36-31 on the glass. They had 15 assists. They ended up with 11 turnovers. They just didn't make enough shots. I mean, 1.02 points per possession, still at 67 points, but 25 free throw attempts. 4 for 23 from 3 is not going to cut it, especially when you shoot below your season average from 2. So they shot below their season average from both of those things, and they were just above their season number from the free throw line. So recipe to lose is what you saw from Michigan State last night. But they're 10-3 in the Big Ten. They're number 1 in the Big Ten in conference play in offensive rebound percentage. Illinois is number 2. Once again, rebounding is a big factor in this game, as I wrote it down the first game that they played. Michigan State is also number 4 in the country in assists per field goals made, and they shoot 28.8% from 3. Illinois 31.6%. Illinois is number 8 in the country in effective field goal percentage on the defensive end, and they have a 78.8 average height, which is 13th in the country. So they got the size advantage there. And Michigan State gets a lot of points from the free throw line. They're 13th in the country in free throw point distribution. So monitor the officiating. If High Knees is doing this game, it is going to be trouble for both teams probably. I already mentioned Illinois' most used lineup in conference play in the last 5. Michigan State's is Fears, Holloman, Akins, Kohler, and Zappala. They use that lineup 8.3% of the time. They have way more different lineups. They use their bench a lot more than Illinois does, which is why Illinois' most used lineup is almost double percentage used to Michigan State's. Michigan State, I find this egregious that they've only played 6 road games so far. They're 4-2 on the road. I guess, I mean, other teams have probably only played like 7 or 8, but it just feels weird. I don't know. They're 2-1 against AP top 25 opponents. Illinois is 11-3 at home and 3-3 against AP top 25 opponents. Michigan State will be an AP top 25 opponent. I mean, Illinois is going to be right back in the rankings if they win this game. Not that it matters, not that we should want that, but that is going to be the case. And this is a big spot for the Orange Crush. They've got to bring the juice for 40 minutes as opposed to 10.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody to chant at unless it's Izzo.
Finkel says Piper says there'll be a projected 3 seed with a win Saturday.
That's just stupid.
So go from a 6 to a 3, winning 2 games.
That's not how the industry works, I wouldn't think. I know that their net is good and their metrics are good, but
I saw JBR move them up to a 5 seed after last night's win.
Somebody else made them a lock too, I think.
JBR, I think, locked
Was it
them.
him? Yeah. Also followed me, so shout out to him.
Great
guy, I'm sure.
JBR.
Big Soul said, Dom guy myself.
Would be hilarious if MSU loses out and Izzo has to wait till next year. Won't happen.
Well, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, but it would be funny. Correct. All right. Players to watch. Unless you had something else. Sorry.
No.
Jump ahead. All right.
No.
All right. I'm going with Kasparis, however you want to say his last name, because we're 6 months into this and everybody says it different still. And Trey Holloman from Michigan State. As everybody knows, KJ only played 9 minutes in the last meeting. Brad Underwood said that he was in they totally controlled the game in those 9 minutes. Got to have him play smart. Somebody mentioned the defense earlier, the off the ball screens. Brad seems to be okay with being on guys' back hips and attacking them from behind, but Illinois, it seems like they give up 5-footers doing that because the guy underneath doesn't step up. The guy behind's got to try to either block him from behind. Illinois got called with 2 fouls on that last night. So just need KJ to play smart, be good with the ball, keep doing what he's doing. His last 2 games have been phenomenal, if you ask me. And then Trey Holloman, he had 17 points in the last meeting against them. He was 0 for 3 from 3, but I think Trey Holloman is the kind of guy that once he sees one go in, he can just start lighting it up. So you can't let him get going. Again, Michigan State's been really bad from 3. You saw Indiana go to that zone last night, and Michigan State shot 17% last night from 3. So I don't think we're going to see zone from Brad, but let him shoot it a little bit, I think.
Intermission on this topic. Illinois has 7 quad 1 wins now.
Yeah, tied for the lead in Big Ten.
Yeah, Purdue and Illinois both have 7. Wisconsin, Michigan, and UCLA have 6. Oregon has 7 as well, I should mention, which is hilarious. But Illinois fans, I know you like rooting against Indiana anyway, but you'll definitely want to root against them because right now UCLA is number 25. They're close to not being a Q1 at home. And, you're going to want UCLA to win some games. And you want Ohio State and Oregon to win games too. But I don't know how many Q1s Illinois had last year. I'd have to look into the archives for that, but I think they could maybe eclipse that. I mean, last year they did have, in the tournament, if they roll those in, looking at the bracket right here, Iowa State was a big time Q1. That was a Q1A. Let me see if I can find it. But my players to watch are Tomislav, right? Yeah, Ivasic, 6 of 8 from 3. If you guys haven't heard, in the last,
6 of 8 from 3, yeah,
in the last 2 games, he had 18 rebounds in the last 2 games as well. So need him to keep knocking down triples. 2-man game between him and Kasparis is something that we really missed against Michigan State the first time, and that was also, remember, a Will Riley breakout game. So we'll see if he brings it again in that game or this time around. And then Jace Richardson. He had 29 points last Saturday against Oregon. Struggled a little bit last night in terms of efficiency, but still had, I think, 12 points or whatever. NBA level guy, though, no doubt. Maybe certainly the top NBA level guy on this team. Somebody's got to guard him. Big Boswell spot potentially. And Boswell, I feel, struggled in that last game too.
Yeah.
Most guys did except for Will Riley and a couple others, and they still lost by like 3 or whatever. So hopefully they can, do a better job. This time. Okay. Predictions.
Yeah, I think Orange Crush will bring it. They'll probably chant somebody sucks, and Illini Twitter will get all butthurt about it. But I got Illinois winning this 84-76. I could see a 15-point win in this game if Illinois closes out.
Cut that. I'm going 83-78. Whoa. That's the exact score as last night, isn't it? So back-to-back 83-78 wins. I feel like I put that in before. No, I couldn't have put it in before. It was in my head before.
Okay.
But now that I do it, we're going to go 83-77.
Fair enough. Saturday night watch party or What are your thoughts since we didn't do?
Yeah,
last night?
I was gonna try to skip it since we were gonna do last night, but what can you do?
Now
I just gotta get.
do
I gotta get another screen for USA Canada. I'll figure that out. 8-6 Illinois was going into the tournament last year. Q1 wins 8-6.
Okay.
And they don't roll them into the tournament, obviously, because why would they? I was just trying to buy Illinois another one.
I think that every game from here on out's a quad one except Iowa for Illinois.
It seems right.
Currently.
By the way, for those of you who compared the 2023 Meyer-Shannon team to this team, that team went 3-11 in Q1. So how's that for you, huh? And then the Alfonso Plummer end of Kofi era team went 7-7 in Q1, and then the Io Kofi 1-seed squad went 12-4. So that team is pretty good. But yeah, 7 Q1 wins is, it's a decent indicator in some ways. I mean, Oregon having 7 of them is more of a peak situation if people look into it that way. But yeah, we'll be live Saturday night, 7:00 tip on that one. And now we go to the more important stuff, college basketball as a whole, the Big Ten. Start with this. I mean, the huge Saturday's a really good slate, but I mean, nothing is bigger than the Saturday afternoon lead-in almost, even though it's 4 hours before. Auburn, Alabama, number 1 against number 2 in Tuscaloosa. Both teams taking care of business. I mean, Alabama absolutely destroyed Texas last night, 103-80. You know how many? Do you happen to see how many threes Alabama made in this game?
I did not. I did not watch this game. I didn't look at all.
Alabama went 17 for 29 from 3 last night against Texas. That's 58%. I mean, they destroyed them. Alabama missed 21 shots in this game, 34 for 57 or 34 for 55.
Wow.
41-25 in the glass. They made so many shots that Texas had 11 defensive rebounds. And they had 3 more offensive rebounds than defensive. And the crazy thing about Alabama is they scored 103, they made 17 threes, and they had 17 turnovers. Alabama slaughtered. Put up 49 in the first half and 54 in the second half. Slaughtered Texas, who their path to the tournament is certainly narrowing. And for Auburn, it was close until it wasn't. I mean, they won the second half 46-36 second half, 46-35. They were up 14 right away. Auburn was, and then they were only up 2 going into the half. And then they took over 86-8. They beat a pretty good Vanderbilt team. Like, Byington's done a hell of a job of Vanderbilt year 1. I understand that they're 5-6 in the SEC, but they have some really, really quality wins. But it was very important, I think, for both Auburn and Alabama to handle business going into the game on Saturday. And this is the biggest Auburn-Alabama game in either of the big sports in a while. Like, they haven't had a football game with this much, 2 teams that are this good, because Auburn really hasn't been elite in football for quite a while. But I think we both like Alabama in this game. Is that true, or do you like Auburn?
I would take Alabama, I think, this game. Yeah.
Alabama's at home.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just absolute for a team that, they shoot 34% from 3, but I think they're really, for any team that's outside of the top 100 in 3-point percentage, I would take Alabama over anybody when it comes to a team that can definitely go nuclear, especially if Grant Nelson is making them, and he didn't even really have to make them last night because they got 9 threes off of their bench. Like, Aiden Holloway had 3, Philon had 3, and Diabate had 3. So, and then, Jaron Stevenson had a hell of a game, the sophomore, 22-4, and he made 4 threes and went 7 for 8 from the field. I just think Alabama has a little bit more explosiveness on offense from their roster. Auburn's really, really efficient, really good. They have the best player in this game, no doubt. But I think there's a bit more of Alabama can blow up for 100 points whenever they want, and Auburn's only scored 100 twice this year, and it was against Georgia State and North Alabama. And they did score 98 against Oklahoma. I will, grant you that. It's not a knock on their offense at all, but I like what I've seen from Alabama offensively to justify picking them. And of course, Jeffrey thinks Auburn's going to win. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I will say, in conference play, Alabama's offense has been far superior to Auburn's. They have the number one efficiency in the SEC. Auburn has the number 2, but it's almost by a margin of 4. Effective field goal percentage on offense, Alabama 58%, Auburn 53%. Alabama's first from 2, third from 3. They can beat them, no doubt, and I think they will. I think Alabama beats them. I don't know what the spread's going to be. Alabama minus 1.5, maybe.
Yeah, it might be. Might be a pick 'em. No, you got to give home court advantage at least 1.5. I would say 1.5.
By the way, shifting gears, Michigan now leads the Big Ten 11-2. Purdue's 11-3. Michigan State's 10-3. Wisconsin's 9-4. UCLA's 9-5. Maryland's 8-5, and Illinois is 9-6. But Michigan, I mean, they're tough. They didn't look like they had a very good chance last night for a lot of that game, and then they came out of it. Obviously, the refs stole that game from Purdue. I don't think we can deny that.
Then Golden falls to the ground, and everything's good for them. How many times did Golden flop around? I gotta say though, like for Purdue fans to be mad at Michigan because of Golden flopping or whatever, I think Purdue is the most, I want to say, well-taught, like, exaggerators of, like, if they're fouled or if they're touched, like the way that they throw their head or their body. Flopper Lawyer, the way he falls to the ground all the time, like for any team to say something, it can't be Purdue. It's just my thought.
Okay. Michigan's won 5 in a row. I can't say I'm overly impressed by them. They beat Penn State by 4, Rutgers by 3, Oregon by 4, Indiana by 3, Purdue by 2. They haven't won any game by more than 4 points in this 5-game win streak, which is fine. But to be fair, when these two teams played in Mackey, it was a beatdown. Purdue beat them by 27. So for them to come back, obviously for Purdue, you had TKR and First both foul out. Those are your two bigs in the starting lineup. Braden Smith had a hell of a game, as he traditionally does. I think if you're Purdue, you just need more from your bench. 0 points off the bench in this game. Yeah. None of them even really played very much except for Heidi. 23 fouls, though, to 13. Like, if you're a Purdue fan, you got to be sick from the way that game was officiated. I mean, 26-8 in free throw attempts.
Everything never went to the line.
Yeah, that's troubling. A lot of stuff was stacked against Purdue in this game with the officiating. And for them to have a gigantic lead at one point, they were up 30, or they were up, let's see, they were up 10 going into the final 10 minutes, right? Or 8, something like that. So, I think if you're a Purdue fan, you feel good about your team, obviously, as you should. I mean, you have the best duo in the conference in terms of production this season. You can also, I think they have the right
about everybody else too.
I think they have the right to be upset over a game that's officiated like this, because I think every team in every fan base in the Big Ten does have that right. Whether they're right or wrong remains to be seen. But I do think last night, legitimately, like, that is some egregious gaps in the numbers with the officiating.
Yeah.
But they only lost by 2, and it took kind of Michigan coming alive and making big shots, and the two bigs being out due to foul trouble, and you got to play 7 minutes for Raleigh Burgess. I mean, that's you get 7 from Raleigh, you're in big trouble at this stage in his career. So, so the game was stolen from Purdue. Is my take. Tonight's slate, before we're done, huge St. John's at Villanova. Big spot for Villanova. St. John's been red hot. This game's at 5 o'clock Central, so it's in an hour on FS1. Villanova is kind of the Indiana of the Big East without the hot start and less talent, but still. One thing that Villanova does have, though, and really they're only like Indiana in terms of record and overall. It was not a Jeff Anderson. Trust me, I checked.
Jeff Anderson did the USC game.
Yeah, I'm sure he did a great job. That's like the F game of the day, too. So clearly didn't want him doing anything. But Villanova, I'll be very curious to watch in this game tonight. St. John's defense, who doesn't guard the 3 very well. Like, for how good St. John's defense is, that's their biggest weakness, is the way teams shoot 33% from 3 against them. It's not elite, but still, that's not an elite 3-point defense. And what does Villanova do, folks? Well, they shoot 40% from 3. which is top 5 in the country. So if they can get it going from 3, St. John's could have an interesting battle on their hands here. But yeah, St. John's going into a game with a 10-game win streak tonight, and it's total prime time, 6 o'clock East Coast. That's a great time for people that are going to watch this game, which there might be 3 people in Central Time watching this game, and I'll be one of them. But yeah, you got that. You got Oklahoma, Missouri as well, late night, 8 o'clock tonight. Iowa at Rutgers is something, if you're a Big Ten watcher, I guess that's something that people can watch. And Arizona State, Texas Tech, big spot for Bobby Hurley, although I think this team is a lost cause this year. Might be the end of Bobby Hurley at Arizona State. That could be over. But all right, I think we've done enough here.
Yeah. Great show today.
Yeah, it was okay.
Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications, go buy your Hummer hoodies in the shop. I don't know the thing. Ethan will throw it up on the page here in a second. Oh, gotta take off the banner. And then Saturday, I know I said that I was going to give away a shirt yesterday, got sick. We'll do one Saturday. If you guys stop by, anybody that's in the chat will have a chance to get you an IBP shirt or whatever shirt you want. I will pay for it and send it to you guys. So appreciate you all. Bootzilla, Jeffrey, Crypto, Quackle, Schlagboy, everybody that stopped by. We appreciate you guys.
And we'll see everybody Saturday. Underwood. Thin ice!